to participate in a clinical trial as a patient organization if you only are allowed to recruit patients and to see if the consent form is good. Ask to or only participate in the trial if you are there from the early stages. Because we know what's relevant for patients and we know what adds value for a patient. We should be seen as an equal partner in that trial because we, the patients, that's why these trials are conducted. Not for the benefits of pharma, not for the track record of the researcher. Of course, we also have to respect the knowledge of the other stakeholders. And last but not least, it also has been said, a lot of trials have endpoints that we can see even halfway the trial that will not be met. Then adapt the trial, make the design of the trial adaptable so that we don't stop with trial or finish trials that are useless in the end. Prospective patient data registries are important. Why? They will give us better quality of data for our analysis. They can be a base for recruitment of patients for clinical trials. But last but not least, and this maybe comes out of the rare cancer community, but if you have more data, reliable data from a patient when he or she enrolls in a trial, then your cohort of patients can be much smaller. You can use a different type of statistics, that's called Bayesian Statistics, based on the knowledge that you already have from that patient. That may be important now only for rare cancers, but also the big cancers are getting rare because we identify different subtypes in this cancer, so our patient groups will get smaller, even in breast cancer and prostate cancer. What could be the role of the patient group? Of course, stimulate the researchers in setting up the database. Cooperate in the design of that database because patient-reported outcomes, quality of life data, is of utmost importance in this type of databases. And then involve patients. Have patients enter their own quality of life data in that database because patients do that another way than the physician will do. Last but not least, compliance of physicians entering data in this collective databases is a problem. We've done an experiment. I have done an experiment professionally, so not for the Chordoma Foundation, a few years ago, with patients checking after a visit if their physicians had entered their data in the database. Just a question to, in how many cases you think that the physicians did not enter the data in the database? A percentage, guess. 80. No, it was 60. But in that case, in that study that we did, it was very effective if the patient just sent an email to their physician, please enter my data. And last but not least, you could set up that type of a database together with the researchers and especially if you have a reference network, together with the physicians and the researchers.
The clinical trials are now different. They will be different in the next 5 years. For example, the 5 trials running now, starting now, which use the target of a tumor to separate different tumors from the other. For example, I've started soon a large trial worldwide, sponsored by Roche, but it's so complex, so expensive, can only be done by a company or by a big governmental grant, which is colorectal cancer. The tissue will be taken and will be analyzed for the different targets, and then the randomization for treatment A versus A plus B. A plus B is a new targeted drug, will be done after the information of the molecular analysis. So this will be done in the first line, not in the end of the life of the patient. It takes not 10 years to information. It takes probably 1 year maximum, or even less, until we have information whether this new drug is helping the patient or not, and probably can go to another study. So this is important because there are so many new drugs per month, per week coming up, and they all must be tested. And the traditional way, as you said, the 1 year, 10 year waiting for results for the overall survival outcome is not relevant information anymore. We cannot do this anymore. Too much time, too much money involved, too less information. So this is new and will come more and more, and the companies are ready to go that way now. And this study in colon cancer is starting in all European countries and the United States and Australia. So please, if you have patients and can inform other patients and your patient advocates, should really give this new information about new ways of the trial in starting from now. And it will be the next 5 years will be more or less only such type of trials. So we have very fast information, but it's important that the patients are willing to do these trials.
I work in the area of clinical trials for a while, and what is my picture in the last year is increased documentation requirements from every side, and the participation in clinical trials from the sides of doctors or investigators who are leading clinical trials is going down because of the increasing documentational, bureaucratical issues within clinical trials. So I think on the area of EU, it should be a topic for us in the future to make these requirements handleable in a daily life so that we can increase the number of participants in clinical research.
And we had a case last year, in the beginning of this year, and this is how I can understand patient advocacy is very, very important to organizations. I had a friend who called me and he said, Seda, I have this lady and she's on clinical trials in Israel, and now because of the bombing she cannot go. What can we do for her? It was at that time. And I called the industry, and with this medicine, they helped me a lot because we are a patient organization. But I think then we had other cases like this. I think in clinical trials, we should have this crisis management too. Because if they did not reach me, and that lady was an Azerbaijani woman, she was not speaking English, she was not speaking proper Turkish, but she was going every month to Israel to have her clinical trials. So she will be completely in the blank. I think clinical trial, the pharma industry should also have now this crisis management tables.
The low participation in trials is going down indeed, but it's not the patient. It's the system, it's the doctors, it's the money or the low budget involved, which makes it not possible for many doctors anymore to participate in clinical trials. That is the problem. The system is too complicated, and it's a shame. It's a really problem. But patients, if they're asked, 99% say yes. Why not? I can only gain benefit if I get a new drug or better than standard treatment. So it's a top topic patient advocates should work on, because they have the benefit from the new treatments today more than in the past, because so many active drugs are there, which a patient has in advance if he gets the drug by randomization, which he would probably get in 3 years later when he has no benefit because he's died in between. So this is really a topic for action for AIA.